I don't think you're lazy. I don't think you're under disciplined. You're just distracted. List 10 things that you already did today, but not one of them is still that thing, that one thing that God actually assigned you to do. By the end of this episode, you are going to identify the specific distractions that are pulling you off mission. I want you to reclaim spiritual authority over your focus and walk away knowing exactly where the enemy has been stealing your attention so you can redirect it back to your God-given focus. This is so important. It's so key. And this is honestly something that I've been experiencing. I've been talking with girlfriends about, and so I knew I needed to bring it here onto Miracle Moment. So if you know that you're called to something, but somehow you end up doing everything else or being everywhere except for where God told you to be, today, let's just expose the enemy's lies and trying to distract you away from your mission and make sure that you're walking away with just having your focus back. That is what I want. I want to recognize that I don't think you're lazy. I don't think you're under disciplined. You're just distracted. And this is what is happening across the board. And here's how you know. You could list like 10 things that you already did today, but not one of them is still that thing, that one thing that God actually assigned you to do. And so if you are recognizing that's happening within your life, let's just talk deeper about this, because the enemy doesn't actually need you to fail at that thing that God has given you. He just needs you to be really busy. And I'm not just talking about busy with bad things, getting sick or relationship problems, financial stresses. These types of things are hard and challenging, but it might be easier to say, oh, well, that was the enemy, like trying to distract me. But what about when you're busy with good things too? Things that feel helpful, things that actually make you look productive or make you look like a good Christian even. While if you're doing that, your actual mission is sitting untouched. And so if you've been saying that, if you've been saying, oh, I'll just get to this tomorrow, or I'll get to it next week, for weeks now, maybe even months, you might actually start to feel a little bit of guilt starting to feel heavier and heavier until, and this is the enemy's game plan, until it feels heavier than actually the guilt of following that calling itself. On the last episode, I talked about how preparation is so important and how if we are in the disobedience for long enough, the enemy has more of a foothold, more space to get into our mind and into our understanding of what is actually happening and why we are delaying or pausing that preparation. Same thing happens here. The longer you stray and being just distracted or off mission, the easier it is for that guilt and shame and that heaviness to come in and really start to control the decisions that you're making on a day-to-day basis. So if you are starting to wonder, or maybe you're wondering about yourself, what is my mission? Or maybe you're wondering, did I mishear God? Is this mission really mine to begin with? Because if it was, wouldn't it be easier to focus? But the fact is that if you're struggling to stay focused, that doesn't mean you're weak. It just means that you're actually a threat, that mission is a threat to the enemy. So today, we just want to take that attention back, right? So I want to share with you something that happened recently in a text thread with some other girlfriends because it blew my mind, her awareness on where she was being disobedient and where the enemy was trying to distract her from. And it turned into this full conversation where we all recognize all these very high achieving female entrepreneurial moms, do-it-all women. We all recognize where the enemy was trying to get a foothold in making us be distracted and busy from the mission and the exact thing 1 week prior he told us to do. So this is what happened. A week before, 1 week ago, my girlfriend, we're not going to name her, but she felt God really put it on her heart to practice her self-care. This is someone who gives to so many others, and God said, this is what I need from you. I need you to go to sleep early, I need you to wake up early, and I need you to have time with me in the morning, and then take time for yourself to take care of your body before doing all of the other stuff, right? And so That's hard when you're a mom with many kids and a business and employees and multiple things going on. But she said, okay, I'm committed. I'm doing it. I hear you, God. Let's go. So fast forward into just a few days ago, she ends up texting us and telling us what happened the night before. Now, there's someone who she's been praying for, who's actually like a colleague, she's someone on her team and an employee. And she had been praying that they come and start walking with Jesus, right? There's a whole backstory there, but let's keep it short. Anyways, this at night, one of these nights, he starts reaching out and asking questions about Jesus. And she's like, oh my goodness, I get to share, I get to testify, I get to pour into him. It doesn't matter that God told me to be going to sleep early. This is what we live for, right? And so she did that. She spent her time with him, texting back and forth. And before you know it, she's up way later. And it was a ripple effect through the next day. And God really convicted her heart and told her, I didn't actually call you to do that. You could have answered those texts the next day. You could have done X, Y, and Z. I called you to create your own obedience with me and to take care of yourself, right? And she got really, really convicted and saw, wow, like the enemy can use even something that looks so good to anyone else, really, to actually get you off mission, off what God is calling you towards. And so in that moment, I really recognized, where God had been distracting me, because just that prior week, that same thing, I had felt a lot of clarity. I had gotten really crystal clear on sort of how the enemy was attacking my voice and my testimony. Now, I'm someone who loves to share my testimony. Like, I got my book, I got my podcast, obviously. I love sharing, I love speaking on stages. That's really easy for me. The thing that is sometimes a little bit more challenging and hard is to actually share my music and step back into that. I've been talking a little bit more about my personal journey with that. And God revealed to me, no, like sharing your music at this point is now just an extension of your testimony. This is part 2 of your testimony in melodic form. That's all that this is. And so do not let the enemy tell you you're not ready, you're not good enough, you're not this, you're not that. Like, I coach people all the time on making sure that they know that their testimony is worthy, right? Like, they just need to share it. That's it. That's all God calls us to. And yet here I was feeling so unworthy and so unprepared. And I had shared about that in the previous episode, and so underqualified and all of these things. And God's like, no, I just want you to share your testimony through the skills and the gift of music that I've given you. So y'all see my new studio, right? It looks amazing. I got my music set up. I was like, let's go. Let's do this. And guess what happened this week? I ended up getting sick. Oh my goodness. And then I end up sitting down and recording a few new episodes for Miracle Moment, and the tech doesn't work, and I spend hours and none of it gets recorded. So those are a little bit easier to spot, those ways where the enemy has tried to distract me, tried to take me off mission, tried to get me sick for a little bit to delay the momentum, the fire that had come into my spirit and into my truth, and that I was acting out in obedience. And he's like, let me get you sick with a little cold. Let me make your throat hurt. Let me make technology not work in your favor. Let me get you really frustrated now about all of that, so you don't even want to do it. So you want to say, throw up your hand and say, I just quit, right? And that's how it felt. Like, let me be honest. But that is the enemy's way of distracting us, one day at a time. And the thing is the enemy's going to go after the thing that is like the most tender, right? So of course for me, I'm like in this new space, getting ready to share this new like level of my testimony. And that is where the enemy comes in, to my throat, my voice, the technology that's going to be recording everything that I want to share and do. If you're loving this conversation and it's sparking something inside of you, maybe it's time to share your own voice with the world. That's exactly why we created the Podcast Accelerator, to help leaders like you go from hidden to heard with a podcast that connects, inspires, and actually grows your business. We launched together in just a few months, and you'll have the system, support, and strategy to keep scaling and growing. Doors are open now, so the link to apply is in the show notes. We cannot wait to see you in there. And so for my girlfriend, for her, like the enemy knew that she had a heart of just wanting to serve and bring people to the Lord. So he could go right there and distract her and turn her away from what God has called her into. I think that there's a really important thing around just the recognition, like taking a moment to see what has happened and let it click. I just pray, and we'll do this in the prayer. I just pray that your eyes get open to see where the enemy is deceiving you, right? So that way, when you can see it easily, it becomes so silly. You're like, are you serious there? Like, that's so obvious, right? But it isn't obvious while you're in it, right? While I was sick, I wasn't thinking, oh, this is the enemy's thing. I'm just like, oh, I just need to get better, right? That's how he takes our focus away. I wasn't even thinking about the music or worship or any of that. And so get yourself a good group of girlfriends. I'm going to say this because this whole conversation started because one person had the awareness, which then led to me and all the other women in this group chat also getting awareness and seeing where the enemy had taken something that was like such a gift. Like it was just crazy timing, but we had all just received this gift, this new level of understanding of a mission. And it could be big or small. Like for the one woman, it was like, let me just focus on my me time for a moment and really like dial in this habit. For me, I was like, I don't even need to be on stage. I just need to like start like getting into my studio and doing my music and sharing my testimony in that way. So it might be just a small little next step, but just be in a group of others that can help you decipher and understand where the enemy is trying to come in and take over and speak fear into missing out and fear into people pleasing and fear into all these other things that are going to just keep you just slightly distracted from actually advancing the kingdom and what God is calling you into. I want you to name the strategy, right? Reclaim authority over your attention and just do it now. Because if you're busy, you're tired, or you're just, again, like wondering about your mission, that all turns what God is telling you into a someday instead of it being a today thing. But God really is here with us every single day. He's not here just with us tomorrow when that time comes. No, he's here walking us now. And so if you're really feeling called to a mission, just remember that if it's hard to stay focused, it's because the enemy is trying to attack you in that preparation season before anyone even sees what you're building. He wants to get in your mind, in your thoughts, and just totally take over. So just know that like this is not any proof that like you're not called to it. It's actually proof, and let it be fuel to the fire that you are absolutely called to this. So just remember, your struggle to focus isn't proof that you're not called to it. It's actually proof that you are called to it. So as you think about the cost, right, around these little moments of getting distracted. I like to think of it like the ship that is just 1 degree off in the beginning. And it might seem like, well, we're going in the right direction, right? But as it keeps going, that ship gets further and further off course. And so the cost isn't just lost time, it's actually also like lost anointing, right? Every day that you give your attention to the things that God didn't assign to you, you're kind of leaking that oil that God had given to you to fuel this mission, and you're pouring it into other things. And so you're going to feel drained. You know, when people say, oh, I'm feeling drained or burnt out, well, it's usually not because of the amount of things that they're doing, it's because of the alignment of what they're doing. So the thing that you're called to build is really something that you should be nurturing, and it should be actually giving you energy back as well. So here's what I want you to do today. I want you to name what's stealing your attention out loud. Awareness is that first act of warfare, right? Right now, write down the top 3 things that have taken your focus this week and ask God, did you assign this, or did I just say yes to these things? If God didn't assign it, then it's a distraction. Even if it's a good thing, even if it helps other people, if it's not yours, it's actually stealing from what is yours and taking someone else's, right? So just remember that you have spiritual authority over your yes and your no. You have full authority in Christ to say no to even good things that aren't God things that are for you. This isn't selfish. It isn't obedient when you're doing that. Every time you say no to what God didn't assign to you, you're saying yes to what he did assign to you, right? So practice this level of anointing, a level of stewardship of what God is giving you. So you can practice saying, if the no feels awkward, which sometimes it does, you can just say something like, that's not mine to carry right now. And say it until you believe it, and just start watching and seeing how the opportunities continue to come in that become more and more aligned as you say no. So I want you to just protect your mission, protect it like it's under attack, because honestly it is. And it might seem like it's a small thing, but that distraction, that thing that's distracting you today is just a delay in your destiny unfolding and really coming to life, right? So create those daily non-negotiables, that maybe hour of protected time, or if you don't have an hour, 10 minutes of protected time to work on what God assigned you to do. I remember when I felt this with just sharing my story and my testimony, and was really focused on building up our media agency and all of that. This was about a year and a half ago. And I heard from God, say, I'm not asking you to go be a full-time speaker and go testify and do all of these things for me right now. I'm calling you into business with your husband, but I don't want you to stop doing and sharing your story of your testimony. So all I need you to do 10%. 10% of your effort, 10% of your time goes towards that. And I made a big shift there and it helped me move things along. It helped me move my book forward. It helped me move other speaking opportunities where I was just sharing all my testimony, not about AI and podcasting and all of this stuff. And treat that time like a meeting with God. Treat it with reverence and respect, because it is that, right? And the enemy can't steal what you've already set apart as holy. You've said, this is mine, this is ours, this is God's, and you cannot steal it from me. So before you go to bed tonight, I want you to do a little distraction audit, right? Write down everything that took your attention today, and then circle the one thing that God actually assigned you to do today. If you don't have anything to circle, if it's not on that list, that's your answer. But tomorrow you just start there, right? Start there with the time that you have, no distractions, just you and your mission, okay? If you need help in identifying what is your mission versus what is not, just start doing these audits daily, and you're going to start to see and just have better understanding and awareness of where your time is going. I'm going to do the next episode all on our time and energy audit that we do with our clients. This is the first thing that we do with any client to get them to reclaim their time. Because a lot of times the enemy also is just not showing us a clear representation. So we think we're doing all this stuff, but when you actually write it down and see, you might start to expose where the enemy has been trying to steal your focus. So we're going to do that on the next episode. But here's what I want you to hear before we close out, is the fact that the enemy is working this hard to distract you means that you, my friend, are very dangerous. You're not behind. You're not too late. You're not disqualified. You're just targeted by the enemy, and that's not a bad thing. So today, just take that first step in grabbing your attention back, and just notice every distraction that you eliminate is going to ground you and put you back on mission for what God has for you. You have that authority, you have that clarity, and your mission is waiting for you. So go build it. Thanks for listening to Miracle Moment. Share the episode, hit follow, and join us every Thursday for prayer and activation. For more tools to rise into your God-given mission, visit rayireland.com. See you next week.